annual general meeting.
Announcing participant.
Dean Maxwell.
Hi.
Is that Pravina?
Yeah, hi Leslie.
Hi Pravina. That's on scrutineers.
Yeah.
Pravina is from computer. Okay.
Announcing participant.
Maxim, M-A-X-Y-M, Cowcun, K-O-W-C-U-N.
Announcing participant.
Chris check.
Hi Leslie.
Hi Pravina.
Leslie, can I have everyone's name so that I can have them register?
Okay, so Mark Jarvis is our
CEO.
Yeah, one.
Announcing participant.
Lyle Tritton.
Lyle Tritton.
Mark Anthony's on as well.
Anthony.
Announcing participant.
Martin is on.
Martin Vidra, another director, is in attendance.
Can you hear us?
Announcing participant.
George.
Sorry, I didn't. I just got Mark Jarvis and Mark White.
Announcing participant.
Doug Ballmer.
Sorry, Leslie.
Announcing participant. Announcing participant.
Maurice.
Announcing participant.
William Buckley. Abby Blaze. Tim Altman.
Announcing participant.
Andy Hardrath. Robert Morris.
Announcing participant.
Barry Russell.
Announcing participant.
Director of the company. Close that door.
Yes, please do.
I'm sorry.
Hi Leslie. I just got Jarvis and Whitedra in. Can I have the names for the others?
You do?
No, she's asking if she can have them, but all these people are coming in as on the phone by guests, so they can certainly attend, but they can't vote on the phone. Hopefully they voted already. So Pravina, I don't think you really need all the names of all the people that are on the phone. What you need is the people that are here. Who are Mark Jarvis, Leslie Young, Lyle Davis, and myself, Bernard Pinsky, and I don't have any shares. I'm legal counsel. Everybody else should have voted online already.
Okay.
And all the other people who are guests in attendance on the phone call are here to hear the report of the director and ask questions about the company. But the people who have voted will be the ones that you tell us have sent in their proxies, or the people that are here in person.
Okay, so you do not want to have the guest list? That's fine by me.
We don't need your guest list.
Okay. So I have Mark Jarvis, Martin Whitedra, and Lyle, right?
Lyle Davis.
So Mark Vidra is not.
And Anthony Walensky is present by phone, but Pravina, you only need the people that are here in person for your purpose.
Okay, sounds good. So I have Lyle, Martin, and Mark on file. Is that all?
No, Martin Vidra is not here in person.
Okay.
So it was Mark Jarvis, Lyle Davis, Leslie Young, and Bernard Pinsky is our
Okay. But I just would like to have Martin Vidra because he does hold registered shares with the company.
Okay, very good.
Okay, good.
So do you want me to check for the other guest list as well, or it's okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
Robert Morris is there too.
Yeah, Robert Morris is here as well.
Okay. Robert Morris is the director.
All the directors are in attendance, with two of us here in person.
Okay.
Okay, so it's now 12:04. Mr. Chairman, are you going to get the meeting started?
Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Annual General Special Meeting of Giga Metals Corporation. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Mark Jarvis, and I'm the CEO of Giga Metals Corporation. And in accordance with the company's articles, I'm going to ask Bernard Pinsky to act as chair of this meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So hopefully I put the speaker near on my table, and I'll move it over to Mark's table when he gives a director's report. I'd like to go over a few legal aspects, and if I could ask everyone who's on the phone if they could please mute themselves for the time being until there's a time when there's an opening for questions of the director's report. That would be very much appreciated so that there won't be interference on the line. So as you've heard, I'm legal counsel to the company. Two directors of the company are here in attendance in person, and Pravina Naidu of Computershare is representing the registrar and transfer agent, and she'll be providing us with information on the shares that are represented either by proxy or in person here at the meeting. And Leslie Young is the corporate secretary of the company, and she's in attendance, and she's appointed as the secretary of this meeting. So the first issue is whether this is a properly called meeting, and in fact, we do have a quorum here. And I'd like to just confirm with Praveen how many shares are in attendance. Praveen, please.
Yeah, so we have two shareholders representing 2,130 shares, and 103 shareholders by proxy representing 13,090,691 shares. And we have a total 18.76% of the shares attended.
Okay, could you give me the number of held by proxy again? 103 holding how many?
13,090,691 shares.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we definitely have met the quorum requirement, and we have a declaration by Pravina, who is on the line, that she mailed the proxy-related materials to shareholders on September 25th. So we'll put that into the record book, unless actually I don't have that. You could get it to me. And so with that, we will dispense with reading of the notice, and we will declare this meeting to be properly constituted for the transaction of business. Last AGM was in June of 2019. The minutes are filed in the minute book of the company. And I'd like a motion, please, that instead of reading the minutes of the last meeting, that they be taken as adopted and approved. Can I have that motion, please, Mr. Davis? Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. Any discussion on that?
No.
All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next item of business is the presentation of the financial statements. We don't get to vote on the financial statements because they are what they are, but are there any shareholders who have questions on the financial statements specifically on any numbers that are listed there? Hearing none, we will just acknowledge that the financial statements, the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019 have been accepted by the shareholders, and I would refer you to the SEDAR filings of the company where you can see them online at any time. Next item of business is the setting the number of directors for the ensuing year, and management has suggested that the same number continue, which is 5, and so we'd ask for a motion that the number of directors for the ensuing year be fixed at 5.
Lyle Davis, so moved. I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Pravina, can you confirm that Mark or Lyle is the proxy holder of all the proxies?
Let me.
In other words, is there anybody, Mark was listed as the first person, is there anybody who crossed that out and put somebody else in there, in any of the proxies? Pravina is still looking at it?
Yeah, it is. I confirm it's Mark and Lyle.
Thank you. Okay, next item of business is the election of the directors, and the Management Information Circular, which you've all seen, has nominated Mark Jarvis, Lyle Davis, Martin Vidra, Robert Morris, and Anthony Maluski as to be the directors for the ensuing year. They are the current directors of the company, and so may I have a motion, please, that are there any other nominations for director? I guess no one came in time to be able to do that because there was a notice provision of at least 30 days.
All marked.
So the nominations are closed. Can I have a motion that those 5 persons be elected as director? Thank you.
I second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, next item of business is the remuneration of the auditor. Very quickly, shareholders have to approve this, and next year we should put it together with the financial statements as one. All in favor?
Announcing participants.
Thank you. Wrong. And the last item until I pass it over to for the director's report is the approval of the stock option plan. The company has a standard 10% rolling plan, which was first adopted in 2015, and it's just reapproved every year as required by the requirements of the TSX Venture Exchange. Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
Davis, so moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. So it appears that all the major business of the company's shareholders has been completed. Is there any, before we go on to the director's report, is there any other item that a shareholder wants to raise for approval by the shareholders in general? Okay, hearing none, going to pass the speaker over to Mark Jarvis, who will give you a director's report. Thank you all for attending, and hopefully we'll be able to see you next year.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Bernard. Well, I guess my report will be fairly brief. If people who aren't wanting to talk right away could mute, that would be helpful. There's quite a bit of background noise.
Hey there.
Essentially, what we're doing right now is preparing an update to our preliminary economic assessment. We expect to have that announced within the next couple of weeks. And what we're planning to do once that is announced is to pivot towards putting together a PFS.
Announcing participant.
Pre-feasibility report. And so we are at that stage of development where we're just advancing the engineering, the metallurgy, and our understanding of the geology and sort of testing the economics. And that's just where we're at. So if there are any questions, I'll open the floor to questions.
Announcing participant.
I do have a general question, and it may sound more pointed than I intend, but and I understand, what went on, I think, but with recent news reports circling that seem to be unfounded and speculative and very conspiracy oriented, is there going to be anything done to address that so public opinion doesn't turn negative and this thing turns into a problem?
Okay, I'll be happy to address that. The only, there's been all sorts of, news out there around the battery space, around Giga metals and so forth. But I believe what you're referring to was a Reuters report on September the 11th, which stated that Giga metals and Tesla were in discussions. So that news release came out very early in the morning of September 11th. The reporter is London-based. I woke up to the stock was ramping up rapidly. The IROC regulator instituted a halt trading, and I phoned them, and together we put together, along with Martin Hydra, we put together the press
exiting.
Stating that there is no material announcement coming. Martin also, had said in the Reuters article, he was calling for comment that
Announcing participant.
Our company's policy not to comment any discussion with any potential restricted investors. So, I think putting out that press release stating the truth that there was no material announcement forthcoming what was necessary for us to do, and we did that.
Announcing participant.
Chris.
Beyond
thank you for
that,
that response.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, beyond that, other than putting that out and stating the truth, there's very little that the company can do to control speculation on bull boards and stuff like that. It's just beyond what the company is capable of doing or what the company has a responsibility to do. So anything we have to say is said by a press release or is put on our website. We don't participate in any of these online chat forums.
Announcing participant.
No.
I can understand. It seems that there is a news article or two by Chris Perry and others that are recently trending that seem to be timed with a recent decline in stock price that is really, I think, going beyond the scope of truth. So I'm not making accusations, and I don't want anyone to feel defensive. I feel Giga Metals did its due diligence, in clearing the air. And so it's just, I guess maybe I have a more proactive attitude than what's necessary. It's just, I hate to see these accusations that made, where they're basically alleging a pump and dump and things like that. That just scares off other retail investors. And and I'm fully aware that Tesla has been communicating with many junior and major miners around the world and that what you guys released to the press was accurate. So, but there's some media personalities who are connecting dots that maybe don't need to be clouded, and it's just like
Sure, and if I can comment to that, you're right. Tesla is talking to everybody because they see the need for nickel going forward, and we're talking to everybody because we know that more companies than Tesla see the need for nickel going forward. So there's a lot of talking going on. And I just want to emphasize that talk is not material, okay? Talk generally, most of the time, leads to nothing. But occasionally you do it because occasionally it can lead to a
Announcing
deal.
participants.
So we're talking to all sorts of people.
Announcing participants.
It's not material, in my view, until you get into advanced negotiations and you're very close to a deal. So, when we said that there was nothing material to announce, we were telling the truth. Now, you talk about some of these blogs or whatever you want to call them. They're not news reports. These people are not journalists. Nobody that wrote any of these reports contacted the company to ask for comment. As far as I can tell, nobody did even the most elementary due diligence. I don't think anyone even read our press releases. So it was sort of bloggers getting information from other bloggers and getting information from bulletin boards or what have you. So, I would just say that be very cautious where you get your information.
Is the floor open? Mark, is the floor open?
Yes, the floor is open.
The floor is open, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Peter Quasi. I'm the author of one of those articles.
Okay.
I emailed the company for comment. Nobody answered me. I emailed Reuters. I got a very strange answer. The Globe and Mail also ignored me. I did a lot of research on it, Mark. I'm a fairly
What's your
well-known
name
journalist in Peter Quasi.
Peter Quasi.
Peter Quasi's article is one that really upset me.
Right.
I just felt like
Announcing participants.
I don't know.
Peter Kowalski and Chris Perry, they're all defamatory statements. They're all defamatory statements.
Facts for facts. Would you mind answering a couple of basic questions?
Okay, just a sec, Peter. Just so you know, I did see an email from you this morning. I was quite busy and didn't have time to respond to it. Had you emailed perhaps earlier, I might have had time to respond.
Fair enough, and I'm not putting you on the spot. I did email last week before the article went out. I'm not an ambush kind of guy. Nobody answered.
Oh, okay. Okay, I don't recall seeing that. I'm sorry. I get a lot of emails.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. Can I just ask a couple of quick questions that ought to be easy to answer?
Sure.
5 insiders exercised cheap derivatives just before the story came out, at a time when there was really no purpose in exercising those derivatives. Why did the 5 people decide to exercise at the same time? And why did people like you not exercise?
Okay, I think I can answer that, Peter. Before the Reuters article came out, and in fact, well before, we were trading at about 30 cents a share, and we were trading very low volume. And then about a week before the Reuters article came up, our stock suddenly lit up. Okay.
Announcing participants.
We started trading 1 million to 4 million shares a day. We were suddenly trading in the 50 to 80 cent range. And so, for example, we don't pay our directors any money. The only thing that the directors get for being directors is options. And so, that's why, the stock had more than doubled on volume when people started exercising their options. There was also some warrants exercised during that period. And, I think one of the bloggers very suspicious about the timing of the exercise of those warrants. Those warrants were about to expire. And so the holder of those warrants wrote a check and exercised the warrants think he had 2 weeks left on them, and he was going away on a fishing. So he exercised, wrote a check, and that was well timed in the sense that he exercised his warrants before they expired. So our corporate secretary, Leslie Young, honestly, she's worked for us 15 years. She's never paid any real money or taken money off the table. And so she elected to exercise. And so I myself didn't exercise anything or sell anything. I'm not going to question what anyone else does. But personally, I've been involved with this company since 2004. And when I sign on as CEO of the company, I'm basically signing on to sell when we sell the company. And that's kind of my attitude. So, I don't think there's any wrong to it. I don't think there's anything wrong with making money as you go. But, in terms of suspicious timing, in terms of, bags of cash exchanged in dark alleys, this is all foolish.
I don't know who wrote about bags of cash in dark alleys. That wasn't me. I put my information in SETI.
Okay.
Did Ms. Desai contact Mr. Hydra for the quote? Or did somebody from Giga contact Ms. Desai?
Pardon me, I didn't quite hear that question.
I'm sorry. Martin is quoted in the article. Did he contact the reporter, or did the reporter contact him? And do you have any idea why she chose to write the story?
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I can answer that. Martin's online, and Martin, we can, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Martin Vidra is quite a high-profile executive. He is a founding member of the Cobalt Committee of the London Metals Exchange, and he currently sits on the Cobalt Committee. He was formerly the chair of the Nickel Institute, also based in London. And so all of the reporters that cover the metal space in London know Martin, know who he is. When he's in London, they'll get together and have a drink and chat. They'll phone him up to get comments on the cobalt market or the nickel market. So they all know each other. And, Martin told me that I guess the last time he was in London in January or February before the COVID restrictions hit, that he mentioned to Reuters, he mentioned to Bloomberg, 2 different reporters at Bloomberg, and to a reporter at Fast Markets, that Giga was striving to develop the world's first carbon-neutral nickel mine. And he suggested to them all, that's a great story. You should write this story. And then the Reuters journalist was the only one that took him up on it. And then she took the story in her own direction. And then quite naturally, at some point, she phoned Martin for a comment, because that's the member of management that she knows.
Okay, I appreciate that. I have one quickie, and then I'll yield the floor to others, because I've got a list of like 20, but let's just do this one. There were 3 anonymous sources referred to in the article. Is anybody on this call one of those anonymous sources?
To the best of our knowledge, we have no idea who the anonymous sources are. And, yeah, so I'll just leave it at that.
Well, Mark, then I appreciate your time. You put a very credible face on the company, and you're an asset to it. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. The floor is open.
Hello, my name is Mansour Ahmad. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Matsuro, you say?
Mansour, yeah.
Okay.
2 quick questions. One, just before the article, or just after the article was released, there was pictures of the Tesla on the wall, which was changed.
Participant exiting.
And
Okay.
second question.
Matsuro, just if I can intervene, I'm having trouble hearing you. There's a lot of background noise, and so I'll ask again, if anyone's not speaking, could you please hit your mute button and then we'll be able to hear each other. So go ahead.
Okay. Around the time that those news reports were released, there was the picture of Giga Metal
Announcing participants.
Alexei.
on the website, and it was taken down a day or two after that news was released. Could you comment on that, please?
Yeah, we put up back in January of 2018. We completely redesigned our website. In fact, we had changed our name. We had changed our name to Giga Metals from Hard Creek Nickel.
Participant exiting.
And this was a reflection that we wanted to position ourselves as suppliers of battery metals. And so, as part of that sort of makeover and rebranding effort, in January of 2018, we put that picture of the Tesla Gigafactory, in our website. I believe at the time it was the only Gigafactory in existence. Okay, so, but then when all of the hoopla started, we thought it was advisable to remove the Tesla Gigafactory. We didn't want to sort of encourage the kind of speculation that we were seeing. And so we removed that picture, which has been there for more than 2 years, 2.5 years.
I appreciate that answer. That clarifies quite a bit. My next question was, you mentioned that you'll be releasing the report on what we expect the metals to yield. Do you have a timeline on when you think mining will start?
On when we think mining will start? Is that what you said?
Okay.
Yes. Okay, well, as I say, we're on very close to putting out an updated preliminary economic assessment. We then plan to take this engineering and metallurgy to the pre-feasibility level, and that will take till the end of next year, perhaps early into the following year. And then we plan to take this to full feasibility. Now, all of these activities depend on funding.
Announcing participant.
So, if everything goes well, and if we get the funding we need in a timely fashion, we could be shovel ready in about 3 years. And then you have to build the mine, and then you start producing. But that's our goal, is to be shovel ready in about 3 years.
Thank you.
Participant exiting.
George? Okay, the floor is open again. Anyone else?
Hi, this is Chris Liu. I was just wondering how you plan to fund the pre-feasibility and the feasibility studies. Will you be selling royalties? Issuing equity?
Announcing
Could you
participant.
give any color on that?
Okay, I doubt very much we'll be selling any more NSRs or royalties. We may issue stock. Our primary push is we're looking for strategic investors to come in at the project level, which is where all the hoopla started. But we are seriously talking to a lot of strategic investors. There is interest. None of these discussions are on the brink of a deal, so I just want to make clear that there's nothing material in what I'm saying. But there is real interest, because it is quite clear to everybody in the electric vehicle supply chain business that there's not enough nickel, and that we're going to start running up against the limits to how many batteries can be manufactured within the next few years, because there simply won't be enough nickel unless new mines get built. And so, there's all sorts of people wanting to position themselves. There's car makers, there's battery makers, there's miners, there's trading companies that all want to make sure that they've got a position in nickel going forward. So, That's our main thrust. In our dream world, we would get everything funded by strategic investors investing in the project itself.
Participant exiting.
And so does that look like is that like an offtake agreement, or
It could take.
what does that look like?
It could take that form. It could take the form of equity in the project itself. There's many ways to skin the cat. But I'm going to do whatever I think is in the best interest of the shareholders. And it's really about math. It's sort of, if I can get someone in at the project level as compared to raising the same amount of money by issuing equity, which is less dilutive to the shareholders? And it's just a simple math question, really.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.
Okay. The floor is open. Anyone else?
Hi, this is Steve.
Hello.
I was just wondering, I in my industry, I also have to go through a lot of approval process, and I can understand what you're saying in terms of looking 3 years out to being shovel ready. Is the Canadian government, doing anything to help these things along? I mean,
Announcing participants.
especially these times?
Okay, nothing specific other than flow through, which is actually quite helpful. So the ability to access flow through investors is very helpful. Now, in general, it's quite interesting. Canada is a very tough jurisdiction in terms of environmental standards. The double-edged part of that sword is that if you can get a project off the ground, your buyers can be sure that they're buying ethically sourced materials. Now, I think our project in particular
Participant exiting.
is going to be something that the politicians will have an easy time approving of, because we hope to supply battery metals for the electric vehicle market and other markets, but also we're doing a lot of research into the CO2 sequestration properties of our silicate residue from mining, and it's significant numbers. And so if we can be producing battery metals and sequestering CO2 from the atmosphere, that's a pretty easy mining project for life.
Participant exiting.
The floor is open. Anyone else?
It's Peter again, if no one else is available.
Okay.
Participant exiting.
Bloomfield.
Has the company been contacted by any regulator or investigative body about this?
Well, we're not under investigation. I mean, if we were, we would find out at the same time as you. They would tend to make a press release. We're in contact with the regulators all the time. I was in contact with the regulators the day that the Reuters article came out, and I worked very closely with them in putting out our press release. So,
Okay.
Investigation.
You asked, are you under investigation? And he answered, yes.
I didn't quite make that out. Okay, I didn't hear that last question. Okay, anyone else?
This is Andy. I have an additional question. And so on a lighter note, and I do appreciate your willingness to answer the more difficult questions. If memory serves me correctly, while researching the company, I learned that there's a road that needs to be built for accessibility purposes when we get closer to the production stages, and that there is an adjacent mine of some type. I'm just curious of the road status itself, what that entails, if there's any First Nations that need to get involved in that, or any of these kinds of things that could be a roadblock. Thank you.
That's an excellent question, because no road, no mine. And so this road is something we pay a great deal of attention to. And yes, there's First Nations involved, and we're in discussions with the provincial government and with both First Nations about what that road would look like. Now, there is another company down our way called Cucho Creek, or it's called Cucho Copper. And there's a VMS, a volcanogenic massive sulfide copper deposit, primarily copper deposit, near us that is going through a feasibility study. So they're more advanced than we are, and they'll need a road sooner than we will. But that said, we're working with a lot of stakeholders on that road and planning that road. So that's a very practical question. You have to have a road to have a line.
And then to follow that up, and thank you, do you feel if the roads were built sooner rather than later, it could be a useful tool in attracting the business visibility?
Okay, I think you said that working.
It sounds like there's a lot of noise.
Participant exiting. Participant exiting.
Matt, sorry, I gotta ask, there's a lot of background noise. If you're not talking, please hit your mute button. Okay.
I'll repeat my question. And so, with regard to the road, if the road was built sooner rather than later, do you feel as if that may be a useful tool in attracting additional specific industries? Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Participant exiting.
And then on that line, is there anything that can be done to accelerate the progress of the road, just to establish momentum?
You know, we are doing quite a bit on the road. We're part of a users group that's working with the provincial government and with First Nations, about developing that road. So we're very, very engaged with the process. Beyond that, I mean, we're pushing things as fast as we can. Let me put it that way. Thank you. Yeah.
So what was that job that you were doing? They got a customer on that?
Hi, is the floor open?
They got
The floor is open, yes.
What was the job?
Yes, my name's Raul. I just have a question for you, just about your opinion about the general nickel market going forward, if I can.
Sure. Okay, and I just want to emphasize that this is speculation on my part. That's all you can do. Like they say, nothing is harder to predict than the future. But my view of the nickel market is that we're coming to a crunch point. I don't know the exact timing of that, but currently, I mean, stainless is about 70% of the use of nickel. And they get most of their nickel now from nickel pig iron and from ferronickel. However, the stainless business gets 5% in aggregate of their nickel units from LME nickel. And, and right now there's enough Class 1 nickel to go around. So the battery makers have their Class 1 nickel, their LME grade nickel. The stainless producers can easily source their 5% of nickel units that they need from the LME. I just think there's a time that's going to come when the stainless guys won't be able to get their 5% because the electric vehicle people are using it all. That will be the crunch point. That's when people are going to realize we don't have enough nickel to make batteries. We don't even have enough nickel to make stainless steel. And if mines don't get built rather quickly, the nickel price is going to, in my view, accelerate to the point where people can't resist building mines because there's just so much money in it. Timing, don't ask me.
Announcing participant.
Randy Myers.
Just a follow-up.
Okay.
Yeah, and in relation to the potential partners that you would look to come in at the project level, do you think that's something that, and I know you can't talk too much about this, but is that something that will go, like, you'd have to wait for the PEA, and would any of them want samples like that, and is that where, decision maybe you're talking about, it's not
really accelerated, but we think potentially that could be something that where people could get a bit more serious. Or it's more about their own personal timelines as far as
Well, I think our updated PEA is going to be an important milestone in that process. Whether it'll be enough to get us over the line, we'll just have to see.
Right.
You feel that the future. Yeah, I think there's too much interference on the line right now. So what I'd like to do is call the meeting.
Okay.
And sorry to all the shareholders who are attentively listening, but there's clearly people who have the phone on and are not paying attention to the fact that they ought to be on mute. So, but Mark can be. Send Mark an email. He's generally very responsive. If you have a specific question and he can respond to it, he will. And your email is on
mjarvis at gigametals.com. Me directly. It's the best way to get hold of me.
Participant exiting.
William Buckley.
Announcing participants.
So thank you,
Exiting.
mjarvis at gigametals.com.
mjarvis at gigametals.com if you've got any more questions.
And thank you all for attending, and see you next year.
Okay, thanks everybody. Chris.
Daniel. Peter. Andy Hardrock. Douglas.